Do you remember Y2K? On the eve of the year 2000, many people warned that the world's computer systems simply wouldn't be able to cope when the two-digit date changed over to 00 on January 1st, 2000. There were predictions that the electric power grid would collapse, that computer-based banking system would crash. Everything would go wrong. I met several families who prepared for the worst. They bought guns, they built subterranean shelters, they bought gold. Two women I know quit their jobs so that they could focus their time on preserving fruit and vegetables and, prepping for survival. Well, now more than 25 years later, I think it's safe to say that the world didn't end. The worst thing that happened was probably that a few centenarians received invitations to register for kindergarten. People have always been fascinated by an unknown future. People have consulted mediums and fortune tellers and tried to interpret the signs of the times and found inspiration from mystical figures like Nostradamus. The Bible has proven to be a rich source of material for many people's speculations. Jesus gave a promise that he would come back. And even though he said that no one knew the day or the hour when he would come, he also said that certain signs would, if correctly interpreted, give us clues as to when he would come. Some people have predicted a time of unparalleled chaos, when the world is characterized by natural catastrophes, economic collapse, etc. And in the midst of this chaos, a strong leader will rise and bring order and stability to the world economy through a global economic system. Now, exactly how this will happen, we don't really know. Some people have speculated that it is somehow tied to barcodes. Others say it's the cashless society, kind of like we have here in Sweden. One term that often comes up in this context is the mark of the beast. Now, what is the mark of the beast? Well, the Bible tells us in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17, about a second beast that will force all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or in their foreheads so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark. No one would be able to buy or sell anything without the mark of the beast, or with the number of his name, which is 666. Now, in the very next chapter, in Revelation 14, an angel proclaims, "If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on their forehead or on their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured out full strength into the cup of his wrath, and they will be tormented by burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb. And the smoke from their torment will rise forever and ever. And there will be no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and its image, or for anyone who receives the mark of its name." Now, a little later in Revelation chapter 19, Jesus Christ destroys the beast that had deceived humanity to take the mark of the beast and worship its image. It's always an important principle in Bible interpretation to interpret one text in light of other Bible passages. Notice first that there is always a clear connection between the mark of the beast and the worship of the beast. It is also important to read a Bible verse in its proper context. Some Bible scholars call it the 20-20 principle. Don't just read one verse taken out of context, but read at least 20 verses before that verse and 20 verses after. Now, in Revelation chapter 14:1, which comes immediately after the passage about 666, we encounter another group of people, those who have the name of the Lamb and of the Father written on their foreheads. The servants of God are also marked with God's seal on their foreheads in Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 8. Now, the contrast is very clear. There are two kinds of people, those who have the mark of the beast and those who have the mark of the Lamb. The book of Revelation is arguably the most difficult book in the Bible to understand. And there's no other book in the New Testament with as many references and allusions to the Old Testament as this one. The Israelites were commanded several times in the Old Testament to bind the words of God as a sign around their arm and a symbol on their foreheads. Many Orthodox Jews today tie black leather straps around their hand and their forehead when they pray. Small leather boxes contain verses from the Hebrew Scriptures. This is to be a reminder that all of one's thoughts and all of one's actions should be dedicated to the one true God. As I mentioned, there is a close connection in the book of Revelation between the mark of the beast and the worship of the beast. It is a sign of loyalty and worship, which is the opposite of God's covenant people, the Israelites, who have the words of God tied to their right hand and their forehead, and Christian believers today who have the name of God written on their foreheads. It would appear to be impossible for a Christian inadvertently or unconsciously to end up in the wrong category of people. To turn away from the one true God and worship the beast is an intentional choice. Now, it's important for us to remember that although the Bible was written for us, it wasn't written to us. That is, if we are to rightly divide the word of truth, we need to understand what the text would have meant to people who received this text from the very beginning. The original audience, the people who were well acquainted with the Hebrew Scriptures and the command to tie the words of God to the right hand and their forehead, they would have understood that the mark of the beast was synonymous with evil thoughts and evil actions. So speculations that the mark of the beast is some phenomenon from the modern world would have been, unthinkable for people who first read these passages 2,000, 3,000 years ago. When we allow Scripture to interpret Scripture, these speculations should also be unthinkable for us today.